Hi guys, been a bit of a while, hasn't it? So apologies for the hiatus due to us trying to get my wife's health sort of sorted out. She is back on the mend now, and fingers crossed, all being well. And yeah, she's not doing too bad at all. So thanks for bearing with me. And what I want to do today is to do a couple of things. I've been asked quite a few times over the past few months about rapid blend if or exposure blending, specifically on landscapes. And also I want to just run a few things past the Macintosh users about Raw Therapee. And so without any further ado, I think we'll crack on. Okay, so first things first. Anybody who's on Mac, when you've watched the last few videos that I've done many moons ago, with regard to Raw Therapee, you'll notice I've been working in the development build. And because I'm on Mac, I have to run the dev build inside of Parallels and Linux. Okay, so that's it's a little bit problematic for me because I can't update to the latest version of Parallels because it doesn't seem to work very well with my installation of Mac. So, there's a lot of Mac users out there who've been watching my videos who are somewhat frustrated because they can't do what I show them in the videos. Well, now you can. Sort of. Yes. If you head off over to the Raw Therapee forum, which everybody should go and visit, if I sort of scroll up to the top on the Raw Therapee forum, you will see this particular topic. And Hiram has worked very hard and he's actually got an iteration of the dev build and he's done it for Mac. Now, he's put this link in this post here at the head of the topic. Don't download that. If you scroll down a little bit, you can see this other post here. Ignore this post off me when I said it wasn't working. That's because I'm stupid. But this post that was done 7 days ago, if you click this link, you will download a zip file. And if I go to my downloads folder and I open it in Finder, where are we? This is what you'll download. Raw Therapee OSX 10.12.64 5.8 dash bloody blah .zip. Now, if you unpack that zip file, you will find a folder. In there will be a DMG, that's a Mac installation file, a Raw Therapee.cli file, and an install readme file. Now, if you click the install readme file, it says an unsigned CLI is in the zip along with the DMG. You must install the app from the DMG into applications and copy the CLI to your user local bin folder. And the CLI will load its libraries from the app in applications. Okay, right. So, all you need to do is to double click on this DMG here that you've just downloaded and install this development build that has local adjustments in it and all sorts of things. Install it onto your Mac system, but do not try and fire up Raw Therapee. Don't. The other thing is, before you actually install that DMG, if you're running Raw Therapee 5.8, still the current general public release version of Raw Therapee, you need to uninstall it. And you need to uninstall it properly. And for Mac users, I recommend to uninstall things properly. You use this little thing called App Cleaner. And if you just do a search, Google search for App Cleaner, it doesn't cost you anything. It's a little free utility that I've been using for, 3-4 years. And it's brilliant because all you do is just drag an application from your applications folder into here, and it goes and finds absolutely everything that's associated with it. So that will clear out your existing Raw Therapee libraries. Now, if you've got any presets loaded, it might be a good idea to actually go and save those presets to, say, your desktop temporarily or something like that. Otherwise, App Cleaner will remove them and you'll have to make your presets all over again, which isn't really a great hardship, is it? But, it's a little bit inconvenient, so there you go. But anyway, so clean off Raw Therapee from your system and then go and install this DMG file. But as I said before, do not, under any circumstances, try and run Raw Therapee. Don't try and start it. What you need to do is come to this other file here, this Raw Therapee CLI, and just right click on it and go copy. Okay? Nice and simple. And then while you're in the Finder application, just click Go and go to folder. And then just type in, because you probably will never have been here before, so this is probably blank for you. So what I want you to do is to type / and then all lowercase USR /local /bin. And don't put a space or a full stop after that. Just / USR /local /bin and click Go. And that will open your user local bin folder. And all you then need to do is just to right click, paste, or just go edit, paste, and just paste this Raw Therapee CLI file into your user's bin folder. Okay. So what that will enable you to do, if you want to restart your system and start from there, you can do. I didn't really find a need to, but what you will find is you get this version of Raw Therapee, which has local adjustments, and we can turn local adjustments on and we can go add, and we can now have this normal spot or excluding spot, which I've shown you in videos, and this new thing called full image, which I will do a video on sometime in the near future. Lots of things I can do videos on for Raw Therapee now that Mac users can sort of gain access to them without going through all the rigmarole of buying a rather expensive license for Parallels, which doesn't always work. Anyway, enough about that. So there we go. That's an update for Mac users to get a latest iteration of the development build working on their system on the Mac side of their operating system. So it's nice and simple. Now, it's not without its risks, because 1 or 2 people have reported it crashing when they tried to do noise reduction at 100%. But I've spent a week trying to push this. Well, not quite a week, but 4 or 5 days. Trying to push this and make it break, make it crash, make it fall over. I haven't managed to do it yet. So, there you go. Now, obviously, to get that running, we will need to go into our preferences. And to get it to interface with Photoshop, we need to, as I've shown you before in a previous video, but I'll show you here again, you need to come to External Editor on the General tab, and we need to go to Custom Command Line and type open space -b space open quotes, com.adobe.Photoshop with a capital P, close quotes. Now, originally when I started using Raw Therapee, this command line needed to be open-B. Recently, it's needed to be open-A for some people, but now we're back to open-B. That's not Raw Therapee, that is Adobe for you, I think. So anyway, there you go. So if you do that, then you should be up and running and ready to rock and roll. So as I said, I'll do some more videos in the not too distant future on some more of the new bits within the development build of Raw Therapee, and you will be able to play along if you're on Mac. Okie dokie. So while we are here inside of Raw Therapee, I want to just show you how simple something can be. And this is what I mentioned at the start of the video. People have asked me about this dozens of times over the past couple of months or so. And because I presume it's because they're going back through old shots that they've not really had a chance to process. And it's been quite a period for photographers' introspectives. Yeah, it has, hasn't it, just? And I'm just going to show you how I sort of work when I'm shooting sort of a high dynamic range landscape, such as this coastal scene here. And of course, you'll notice I was absolutely drunk as a lord. Well, I wasn't actually, but I might as well have been, because I got the horizon on the ski with. So all we're going to do is what we're going to do, my profiles, and I'm just going to load my base.pp3, which I've explained to you about many times before. And all we're going to do is just contemplate the image and ignore the fact that it is on the ski with. Just totally ignore it. My base.pp3 is actually put us in RCD plus bilinear, which is one of the newer dual demosaicing combos, and it's also turned on default capture sharpening, and everything in the garden's looking fairly rosy. I don't really see a problem with anything apart from the it being on the ski with, but this is the exposure for the sky. And if we look at the exposure, it's f11, 15 seconds. If we go to the other exposure, this one, which is the one I took for the shadows, this is f11 at 59.2 seconds, in other words, 60 seconds. So we've got a 60-second exposure and a 15-second exposure. So this exposure here is 2 stops brighter. All right, 15 to 30 would have been 1 stop, 30 seconds would have been 1 stop, 60 seconds 2 stops. So what camera was this on? D-Thor. So my D-Thor's got a dynamic range of around about 10 stops. So because we're going to combine 2 shots taken 2 stops apart, you could say that we've got a scene dynamic range in excess of 12 and a bit stops. Alrighty, so, I don't do this religious, methodical third of a stop bracket or whatever and just take 7, 8, 9, 10 shots. But I'll just take 2. 1 for the highlights, 1 for the shadows, job done. Okay, and then we can blend the 2 together. And yes, I push Greg Benz's Lumenzia quite a lot because it's really, really useful. I'm always going on about using luminosity masks and there's this, that and the other. But seriously, guys, doing this sort of thing is so stupidly simple, it's insane. And you don't really need any specialist plug-in or add-on or anything. So let's just go back to this shot for the highlights. And I'm going to just magnify up to 300%. I don't really want to go up to 300%. 100% will do. And I'm just going to come into the exposure tab, and all I'm going to do is just try and reconstruct some. I mean, we haven't got any blown highlights in this because it's been exposed for the highlights properly. Well, slightly underexposed for the highlights. But of course, because it's got such a high scene dynamic range, the shadows are all very choked up. So all I'm going to do is just add highlight reconstruction, and I'm going to go for colour propagation. Alrighty, and that's just made ever such a subtle change inside the highlight. Do I want to put any dynamic range compression on there? Let's activate that. See if that does anything. Too much. Don't need to do that at all. What I might do is just put a little bit of highlight compression in there, and that's just tone down the highlights in the sky. I might come over to the colour tab, and I might go to colour toning and colour correction regions. Remember, I've done 3 or 4 of my last videos were on the power of colour correction regions, but I'm not going to do anything really super technical here. All I'm going to do is just take up the saturation just a little bit, not that much, probably about, 3, 4, something like that, just to add a little bit more colour to the sky. Alright, now then, here comes the first thing. Because we've got that new command line in our preferences to open up inside of Photoshop, there, I just click cancel on there. This is the really, really super cool bit. If I just click the little paint palette at the bottom, and I'll just go and shut all these down, previous iterations of this shot, including the finish one, these shouldn't be, you shouldn't be seeing this. No, you shouldn't. I should be making a seamlessly put together video, and truth. Let's take it off. There we go. So this is the shot we've just processed inside of Raw Therapee. That's the shot for the highlights. So I'm just going to come back to Raw Therapee. Now, before I do go back to Raw Therapee, if you notice at the bottom, yes, this is in Pro Photo. Yeah, but it's also at 300 pixels per inch. Yay! So we don't have to go and resize it anymore, which is really, really cool. So we'll come back to Raw Therapee, and we will go and activate our exposure for the shadows. And you can see it's only 2 stops difference exposure, but it's made a heck of a big difference. Now, if I just go back to my profiles, my base, you see you get these false colours. This means that you've actually lost information, and this is Raw Therapy's way of telling you you're done screwed up. But I know I screwed up on purpose. So all I'm going to do is tell it to click the out of gamut colours. I'm not going to bother with any highlight reconstruction. We are, because I'm in mybase.pp3, we're in RCD plus bilinear. We've got the capture sharpening on, and if I go to colour tab, you can see my output profile is Pro Photo. So all I'm going to do is click the artist palette again, and there we go. And now that's opening Photoshop as well. And actually, I'm going to shut that down. I'm going to do something else to that shot. Let's go back to Raw Therapee again. Told you this was going to be an epically professional video, didn't I? And I think all I'll do is just go and add a little bit of dynamic range compression to this. So it just takes the glare down on the edges of the rocks. Just what it is. And it's opened up the shadows ever so slightly. I think we might just open it up a little bit more and move the compensation, or the anchor point I should say, a little bit more towards the highlights, maybe not that much, just turn it down a little bit, because we don't want to turn the light in the scene inside out. We just want some more light on those rocks. And so we'll export that out, process the image, and it will pop open in Photoshop with a little bit of luck. There we go, thank God for that. So now we're going to come to the Photoshop bit, and this is why I keep banging on and on and on and on and on that Photoshop is worth the money. I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to Script, and I'm going to go to Load Files into Stack. And we've got two images open that we brought in directly from Raw Therapee, and we're just going to add Open Files, and we're going to click OK. So now it's created, or Photoshop's created, an entirely new document. You can see we've got 3 documents open here, and we could, in actual fact, go and close these other 2 down now because we don't need them to be open. All I'm going to do is put the lighter version on the top, yeah? And then we're going to highlight both of those layers, and I'm going to have a short slurp of tea. Oh God, that's better. So with both layers selected, we're going to go to File. No, we're not. We're going to go to Edit, and we're going to go to Auto Align Layers. We're just going to leave it in the auto projection. Not going to touch anything else. We're going to click OK. OK, yeah. And so it's auto aligned the layers. And then I'm just going to activate the lighter of the 2 layers. I'm going to double click in the empty space. I'm going to bring up the Layer Styles dialog box. I'm going to hold down the Alt key on my keyboard and split off the right hand this layer highlight slider. And I'm just going to drag the left hand slider all the way down to the 0 point of the shadows on the same scale, and that is Rapid Blend If. Alrighty, and that doesn't seem to have worked out too bad at all. We'll just go and click OK on that, and let's just now turn down the layer's opacity and just try and strike a nice balance, because we want to keep these rich, deep, dark shadows in there. And yeah, I don't think that's looking too bad at all. So what are we going to do next? What we need to do is straighten the image. And just to save a load of grief and mither, I'm just going to flatten the image. Alrighty. And then where you might see your eyedropper tool, if you notice there's a little down pointing arrow in the bottom right hand corner, if you click and hold there, you'll see you've got a ruler tool. So this is the one thing in Lightroom. You can't, when you go to rotate an image, it always sort of takes it out to a sort of fit to screen view. So it doesn't always work 100% accurately. And so I'm going to zoom in here, because in Photoshop this method of straightening will work at any magnification. And I'll just come out a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm just going to click and hold the pointer right on the waterline or the horizon line, and I'm just going to stretch that line out and then let go. And so up here we will see a grayed out button. Well, it's not grayed out, but it's just not active, and it'll say straighten layer. This is why I flatten the image first. You could keep the layer stack and then just do a stamp visible layer over the top, but it's file bloat for no reason. So if I just go straighten image, and there we go, and the quickest way to check it is to drag a guide down and just see, yeah, you see that waterline, that horizon line looks absolutely fine. Yeah, so there we go. So now our image is straightened. However, if we come out to a fit to screen view, or take it a little bit smaller, you can see we've got lots of transparent pixels. Now, we're obviously going to want to crop this image, and it's most likely going to get cropped at the bottom, but we're trying to keep as much image area as possible. So if I wanted to do a 16:9 crop on this, I would actually have to crop off some of the width of the image. And since it's shot on a D4, it's not something I really want to do. I haven't really got a lot of megapixels to play with. So on certain images, well, what we want to do is we want to fill those areas. Now, yes, we all know we can do it in Lightroom with content-aware fill, and we can do the same in Photoshop. But in Photoshop, we have a little bit more control over the process. Now, if I just hover over the thumbnail itself for the layer, you can see that layer is not a background layer, it's called layer 0. I can click select pixels. Now, what that's done, that's selected the entire area of pixels that are in that image. And what you might think you want to do is to select all the areas of checkerboard where there aren't any pixels. So what we could do is we could go select and we could go inverse. And you can see the margin outs have changed, and we've selected all the empty bits of the image. Now, some images this will work on, others it won't. It's not going to work 100% well on this image because there's too many variations in detail frequency. But, you know, for other types of image where it's sort of high frequency detail or low frequency detail from edge to edge, corner to corner, this might work. So we could just go and say, edit content aware fill, and just bring up the content aware dialog box and just wait for it to do its little thing, rather like that. And we could go and click OK, but you can see here, I imagine you can see here, if I take this up to a larger view, you can see we're getting little errors in the fill. It's not doing a bad job, and you could actually go in there if you so desired and clean up that error with a clone stamp tool. But, you know, it is what it is. I'm going to say cancel because I don't want to do it that way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do each area individually, but that is a way of selecting all the transparent pixels in your image all in one go. Just right click on the thumbnail inside the layers panel and go select pixels, and then go up to your select menu and go inverse or invert the selection, and you've now got your transparent pixels selected. But we're not going to do that, so we'll go edit and we will go, what are we going to do? Yes, we'll go edit. Well, we'll go select, deselect. That'd be the simplest thing to do. I'm going to pick up my pen tool. I'm going to get my lasso tool, and I'm just going to run across there like that to give myself a selection in that corner. I'm going to go edit, and we're going to go content aware fill, and we'll just wait for it to spool up. That's looking all right. I don't really need to check it. It's got quite a lot better than it was when it first came out. And then I'm just going to select down here, and we are going to have to just try and rebuild some of these rocks, I think. So we'll just see what happens here, and we'll go edit and content aware fill again, and that's done a very, very good job. I mean, I know we're only at 37% in this preview window, but that to me looks fine. So we'll click OK. And then I'll come in and extend this area as well. I'm only doing this roughly. But we'll just go edit. Why that never stays on, for God's sake. There we go. Content aware fill. And do its thing again. Yep, that's looking fine. Click OK. And I'm going to go to select deselect because I'm not going to bother doing this area because I want to crop this image. I want to make it 16 by 9. So we'll just pull in a crop dialog box or crop tool. I've already got 16 by 9 as a ratio selected there. I'm just going to move the image down until the waterline or the horizon line is on my 1/3 line like that, and I'm just going to click OK, and there we go. So that's just a very, very nice simple way of doing a rapid blend exposure blend between two images which are two stops apart, commanding quite a large scene dynamic range, giving you all the usable detail you could possibly want, without the need to spend any more money than what you've already spent with your Adobe subscription. And of course, the reason I would refrain from cropping when I'm working up the raw file is that between the two shots, the camera might have moved. Yeah. So you can't really guarantee that if you apply a rotation and crop to one of these two images, if you apply the same rotation and crop to the other image, you can't guarantee that they'll always match up. This way, not doing the crop in RAW at all, but bringing the crooked images into Photoshop and auto-aligning them, doing the blend and then straightening the resultant flattened image is a much more sensible and smoother operation for all concerned when it comes to the overall look of the image. Alrighty, hope that's been useful to you guys and gals. As ever, my Patreon members can download those two RAW files. They can sit and play with them to their heart's content. And yeah, if you're on a Mac, go and try this new version of Raw Therapee. It's not a public release. It's only a tester, so if you want to wait for 5.9, then do so. But, you know, go and install this. As I said, the only drawback is you've got to remove 5.8. And if the new version of Raw Therapee that you're installing, the tester version for Mac, doesn't work right, you are going to have to remove that and then put Raw Therapee 5.8 back on your system and wait for the new public release. But anyway, go and give it a try. I sincerely recommend you do. And if you've got any further questions, ask me. Don't forget, if you've got any problems with the installation, go over and ask on the Raw Therapee forum. They're a good bunch of blokes over there. They'll always answer you. They'll never leave you hanging with a question. And so there we go. And until the next time, guys and gals, stay safe, stay well, keep taking the pictures, and I'll see you soon. Tooroo.